Welcome to the No Dick Pics podcast with Max and Christina. This is part 2 of a Bumble love story with Rachel and Dan. If you liked part 1, just wait, because part 2 is their actual love story, and it's honestly just one of the best stories I've ever heard. So we're going to pick up where Rachel left off, and afterwards, Max is going to join me to close out the show. We hope you enjoy part 2 of a Bumble love story.
So like I said, I closed my eyes and swiped right, and then the all of a sudden he's like messaging me, and it's great. I'm like, oh my gosh, he looked at everything like I said on my profile, and he's like talking about it, and he's having like this engaging conversation. But one of the things that I loved about it was it wasn't like this constant conversation, and like then that's what I started to see, like with what my therapist meant by like casual. Is it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to spend the next 6 hours like texting back and forth on this app with you. It was like we would send a couple of messages a day, like here and there, like as we could get to it. And but when we did send the messages, it was actually like you could tell, like I think you've said this about me, but I could tell like he actually sat down and like intentionally responded to the message, and I was sitting down and intentionally responding to the message. And so like that's kind of how it started. And then I think there was like a point, like, a couple of messages, in like, I want to say like within the first like 10, because it was broken up by, some days. And I was traveling for work again or whatever, but I said, oh, like he'd asked me a question. I said, you know what, that's actually like something that we should talk about like in person. Like maybe we could like meet, and get together and talk about that.
Look at you.
I was like, if you want, like, here's my number. And, he texted me, and he was like, oh, like I'm actually going to be free. Like, and I was like, you know what? I'm sorry, that like doesn't work for me. I was like, I have things going on with my kids. I said, we had actually met right before Christmas. And I said, you know what? Like I never like expected to start talking or whatever. And I said, I don't want it to seem like I'm not interested or I'm blowing you off. But I said, it's Christmas time, and like it's a just really busy time like for me with my kids. I said there's a lot of things going on at school. There's things I'm trying to wrap up with work, and I'm like I'm doing the single mom like Christmas stuff. And I'm trying to like make this year like a really good experience for them. I'm like, it's been a really tough year. And I said, so I don't want you to think I'm not interested. And I'm like, but like throw out some other dates and like let's see. And then I remember like your parents got COVID.
Yeah, they got COVID, so I was going to be going over there to help them with some things. And I said, well, that with doing that, I wouldn't want to be out on a date anyway, just in case. But I also something else I told her, I was like, it's you don't have to feel sorry for this. It's the holidays, and I actually wouldn't I probably wouldn't be attracted to you or anybody who wouldn't put their kids and family first. Like I was like, you take care of that and we'll figure something out, after the holidays, like that's not that we didn't text, a few times here and there and everything.
And he said, sometimes I scared you because one time I told him, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going out to go like to the, Morton Arboretum lights or whatever. And that was when we had like one of those like polar vortexes. And he was like, well, how was it? I was like, cold. And that's all I wrote.
It was the only time she ever messaged like one word. And I'm like, is she like falling off and everything? And,
You started reading too much into it.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. I was busy too. I was having a busy week, and I both.
Your move was the holidays.
Well, yeah, and come to find out, she's like cold. Even
I literally like could not write anything else.
Now I know she was literally probably frozen.
We're like too cold to text.
Yeah. But even at that time, I didn't even like text back. I'm like, okay, so all she wrote was cold. I don't even know what to say to that. So let me just leave it at that. I'm busy. Let me text her like on Friday. It was like Thursday or something.
No, it was like 4 or 5 days. And it was really, truly like the first time in my life. Like, not that I didn't care, because I did care, but like, I was just kind of like, I have to like, I'm going to put time into this. And I did tell him, I'm like, hey, I really think like, if we can get through Christmas, I'm going to have some time. And I wanted to make that clear, but I also was like, it was the first time like I really said, you know what, I am not putting in all of like this effort either. Like I will like match like the effort, but unless I'm cold. But I will, if it goes like a couple of days, I'm not going to panic about it. I never overthought one thing he said at all. And because it was just like, I haven't met this person. So why should I be so invested in somebody that I have never even met? Like, and yes, it seems like we have a good connection, or it seems like all of these things, but I am no longer willing to spend any more of my bandwidth on somebody that I have never met. And
you don't know them.
You were like the same.
Well, even with that one word text, it wasn't like I was like, well, that's all she sent me and I'm not going to text her back. It was more like, I was like, okay, well, there's, when she has time, I bet there's more to this. So I gave it, some days, and I'm like, all right, well, if I don't hear from her then, because anytime she texted or I texted her, I wouldn't text her again until she texted me. I didn't want to, be like, hey, everything all right or anything. And just wanted to let it be to when it was like time for her to get to it and everything.
So he never responded to cold, so I wasn't going to text again until.
And then I realized, I'm like, well, maybe she's not going to text. So let me try to say something about that, and then like kind of get into like keep the conversation going. And it was a good, we got right back into
it. You don't double text.
I don't double text when I'm talking on apps.
No.
I used to. I used to not give a shit. But then like I'm trying to be cool, whatever.
It wasn't even for me like trying to be cool. Like I don't think I was even intentionally playing a game. I was just kind of like sometimes in a relationship or whatever, you're not going to have everything to say, and it's like I just didn't go into this about like, well, they need to be exactly like this before I even meet them, and it's like. People have bad days. People have like days where they can't talk. People have days where they can't focus on this. They're going to have times where it's one word answers. And it's like, if that is going to be like such a red flag that you can't go out with me, then like move on. Because like what, of course, what I'm thinking that he didn't know is like, you have no idea how many red flags are coming. So like, this is going to be like, this is not even going to be a blip on the radar.
Cold is nothing. Just wait. Yeah.
So, we got right back into it. But then, I was like, I am not going to set up a date because I'm like, I told him like anytime after Christmas, or whatever. So he finally said he was at a friend's house, and he finally said what?
Well, we were talking and we got in the conversation of dating. And I'm like, oh, because it was a couple days after Christmas, and I'm like, oh, you know what? There's this, I really want to like set up a date with this girl I'm talking to, and I was excited about it. So I'm like, let me just see what she says. I'm going to throw it out there right now because it's after Christmas. And I'm like, hey, let's go on a date this day,
And he was like, what? If she doesn't respond.
Like, if she doesn't respond and want to do it now, I was like, maybe she's not really honest about wanting to go out or something, so we'll see, Yeah.
So he texted me and he said, when did you want to go on that date? And I'm like, I have Monday or Wednesday available, or whatever. And he was like, right, okay, let's go, let's go Monday. So, but what's funny is we actually never even talked on the phone until the day that we were going out on the date.
Yep.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I had Monday off because I think it was like the New Year's or something.
It was New Year's. It was the day after New Year's Day.
And I was at home and I was just kind of lounging and because I'm like, all right, the date's going to be later. And
well, no, what was funny is I said, this is, the date I have available. And I said Monday. And he said, okay, let's do it Monday. And I said, he never gave me a time or a place. And I'm like, I'm not coming up with this. Like, I got little kids. Right. I got all this shit going on. Like, no. So it got to like 11:30 in the morning, like whatever, like hadn't heard from him. I was like, well, whatevs, I got other things to do. And so he's like, then he texts me. He's like, oh, hey, we should talk about the date. Like, what time were you thinking? Like, were you thinking about this, and this? And I'm like,
I'll give you a few options.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, what? I don't really like feel like going back and forth on a text, about this. Like, I'll just call him. Because I was like, now that he's waited so long, I've started doing other things. So like, I'm not going to just like, I got to kind of figure out what, I kind of wanted to get like the vibe. So, you could tell it from your first. So I just picked up the phone and called. I was in the bathroom doing my makeup. Like, didn't even care.
The phone, I'm like, she calling me? So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to like get in, not sound like an idiot when I pick up the phone, So, picked up the phone and, I got to tell you the anxiety you have on even like first talking or anything like that. It was like instantly just gone. I heard her voice and the way she sounded was exactly like how I would have pictured from all her smiles in her pictures and everything she wrote. And I always tell her, like, I could hear the exclamation point, and excitement in your voice, because that was something she had in her profile, or passionate about exclamation points. And I thought that was a cute thing. I mentioned that right away in our messages at the beginning. But yeah, it just made me so calm, and we talked for a couple hours, I think.
Well, no, we talked for like a little bit, but
Oh, yeah.
I said I'm gonna go meet my kids. They're actually like roller skating, and I said I'm gonna go meet them and their dad. Um, he's got them over at the roller skating rink, and I'm gonna go like sit and spend some time with them, today. And I said, we had kind of talked about like, oh, let's go to dinner and then like see where it goes from there. Maybe after that we can go bowling. And I said, you know what, I'll give you a call like when after I spend some time with them, and I said I'm gonna go run some errands, and then I'll give you a call back. And I had a great feeling too. It was like, oh my gosh, like I loved his voice, and he was just like so sweet and compassionate. You could just tell.
Yeah.
So I did. I met with my kids and like their dad, and I actually remember it was like actually one of the most meaningful conversations like I had with my former husband as he was not doing well. And I remember like actually like crying, and I just said, like this is just so hard. Like, he's like, what are you doing later? And I'm like, well, I might be going out, And I just said, this is just so hard. And, I'm like, I'm excited to go out, but and by this point, like we were great friends, but I said, I just don't know, like, what if I do like him and then I have to tell him and, all of this. And he just said, just go. And he's like, just don't worry about this stuff. And, he's like, I could sit here every day and cry, just do it. So I did. I went like, and I had a great conversation, and, I think I like washed my car and, ran all my errands. And then I called and I said, okay, like, I'm like kind of done. I'm like, here's what I'm thinking and time frame wise. And I think like we ended up then at that point talking for a little while, like a couple hours. And he's like, you know what? Like, let's just go on the date. Like we're talking and we're wasting all this time. So we met, and I remember you could say like you were afraid that we weren't going to have anything to talk
Yeah,
about.
so it was something like, man, we just talked for, if you combine it all, maybe 3 hours or something. And that, I always said like the second date is where it can get better, because first date, it can be amazing. And then you don't know them, you're trying to get to know them. And it's like, we just did like second date, maybe on the phone. And now we're going to get there, and maybe just what happens if we just sit there like nothing, as excited as I was and how it all felt right on the phone. But yeah, I picked a place. I was like, hey, come out here. This awesome place. And I just remember I got there first, and something I tell her all the time is like the thing that'll never leave my mind was, she said she was in, this white, you know, car, and she's pulling up, and I was like, is that her pulling in the parking lot? And I saw her drive by, and all I could see was like, her beautiful smile, and just driving by, like she had I could see that, like, just, I was like, I already would know that smile anywhere, and I've never seen her before, just, and it was her, walked in, and just was just an amazing,
Yeah, I remember I
like,
met, I saw him, and I've never had this feeling, but I just like felt safe. Like I just like you could just tell like that he radiated like the empathy and everything that he had talked about, and that he was,
Yeah.
and I had kind of told him about some like nightmarish things. I said, I'm actually really nervous to go on this date because I said, I've actually had a couple of really bad experiences, and I told him about some of it. And I said, I'm a little like trepidatious, and you could see like he really like took that into consideration. And
well, she had me like in tears of, like, she could tell, like I was like almost crying on the phone when she was telling me something. I was like, how, because I was feeling so bad or scared, like, for anybody to be in that situation, I was,
yeah, because I was like, I won't let anybody pick me up. I don't tell anyone where I live, Like, not trying to be too red flaggy, but like I just wanted to like make it clear, like I'll meet you somewhere and like all of this. But like,
Yeah.
if we
That's
go
also
somewhere,
smart.
if we go somewhere else, I'm not getting in a car with you. Like I just, clear boundaries, and I'm like, and here's why. Like I've had these experiences, and he was like so horrified. He's like, I can't believe like somebody would do that to somebody. Um, and then we had like the worst margaritas and the best, like, and I will honestly say, like, the dinner was like not that remarkable.
no, I don't even remember, like, she brought it up. I'm like, what did I order? I remember what she ordered. I always, she ordered the fajitas.
And you ordered the octopus.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
the grilled octopus. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Weird.
And the food, I mean, the food was amazing as usual and all that, but it really, it's funny how everything else like overshadowed that, like in everything we were talking about. And the margaritas, I will admit, were terrible. They were, I don't know, something that I never ordered. Normally I order like fresh ones. Yeah, they were like simple things, but I'm like, man, we should just went with like the actual
get the
ones,
sugar,
the ones that they
Yeah.
do specialty there.
Yeah.
But, anyway,
John Taffer would be pissed.
what were you saying about it? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I said John Taffer would be pissed. The guy that does the bar rescue.
He might have thrown it against the wall.
Yeah. It's a shit. The only good thing about the margaritas is I remember my Apple Watch like closed its activity ring as I was drinking. I remember I made that comment. But no, the dinner was actually like unremarkable. And I mean, like it was good. Like, I mean, I was like, oh, this is good. But again, like no high hopes. Like everything's casual. Like, right, we're cool, you know. And then we wanted to go bowling. And as we're bowling, Damar Hamlin like dies on the field, and like there's all this, you know,
almost
or almost dies, you know, but like dies and is, you know, comes back. But like, you know, here we are, like we're having like this day, it's fun. Now we're getting to like the fun part, like we're actually like kind of through, like, you know, it's never awkward, but we're just kind of like through that, like, oh, when we have to sit down and like talk about things. And actually, like one of the things he did say on at the dinner that was so remarkable is he said, you know, I hope you don't believe anything I'm saying right now, because he goes, most people will lie to you, and he's like, I'm sure you've seen that, and he goes, just believe what I do.
Yeah, I get a lot of people that are like, wait, you said that on the first date, you know, like don't believe what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe what you're saying. Like, you know, I can't take everything at 100%.
And that's what he said,
you know, like, so I was like, you know, that's just the way it is, you know. So I can sit here and say all these amazing things, but don't, you know,
that's so
I
insightful.
believe it, you know.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all these things, you know, you want to hear, like, go through all this, like, you know, I'm selling myself or whatever,
right?
You know, because he's like, you know, at the end of the day, like, we're just going to figure this out over time. And I remember that did put me at ease. And so I was like, yeah, the same thing. I mean, I can't believe anything I'm saying either, you know. And so
it makes everything kind of light fun and more light fun, and everyone's just talking. Not that you want to think about anybody lying to you, but it's like then there's not that pressure. It's like, okay, you know, we have this understanding that, yeah, who knows if somebody's lying to you.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter what I say, or like
blowing my mind right now.
It's just like, this is just like, let's just be ourselves. And like, I mean, we talked about like very like deep things actually, like even on the like in the first part of it, like not like deep in the sense of like who we were or anything, but just even like things like that, like having that outlook. And I was like, oh, you know, you're so right. Like, you know, there's so many, like, look at all the ghosters, like, look at all the people that are dishonest. Like, look at all the people that are like, oh, well, I guess I wasn't like looking for this, or I guess I wasn't. And it's just like, well, then you have to know yourself before you can say that then, right? Like, so it was just like, and I remember saying to him, like, you know what? Yeah, like, you're right. Like, I don't know where I'm at right now, but I guess we're going to find out together, you know? And, yeah, so we went bowling and it was super fun and we were having the best time. And then like, yeah, they're playing the NFL game, you know, because it's getting close to playoffs. And, you know, this whole thing with Damar Hamlin, you know, happened. And you know, it actually like really panicked me because my former husband had been on a ventilator for a long time, you know, been very sick. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to be really honest with you right now. I'm like, this is kind of horrifying, you know? And I'm like, and I was like, you know, do you mind if we like go and sit at the bar and we talk, you know? And I just thought, you know what, at this point, like I have nothing to lose, like, because he's already seen that like something about this really bothered me, right? Like I'm trying to call people. I was like, do you mind if I like call? And I want to like kind of find out what happened, because we kind of missed what happened. And, you know, there's like no sound and we're trying to, you know, figure it out. And we like sat down and proceeded to talk. And this is what I say throughout like every red flag imaginable. I said, hey, you know, I just want to like let you know where that came from, because I'm like, you know, I don't want you to like be thinking about it for like days or questioning it. And I was like, here's what's going on like within my family. This is what's going on like with my kid's dad, and like he's very sick, and like this is what's happened, and he, you know, he was sick, and what led it, you know, here's what led to our divorce. And we, you know, just proceeded to like just like kind of like lay it all out. And I was just like, you know, I'm probably never gonna see you at, you know, after this, but like thank you for giving me the space to just like, you know, do this. And I think we ended up like talking till they closed. They kicked us out. And and he was just like, yeah, like he's like, is that scary? Yeah. But he's like, does that bother me? No. And he's like, no, because he's like, how you're handling this and like being honest about it and like talking about it, you know, and being like forthcoming and not like trying to keep this a secret and saying like, this is where I'm struggling right now in my life or whatever. He was like, it's just so refreshing that he was like, and then he opened up a lot about him too. And that was refreshing to be like, here's the problems that I've had, and here's where like what my struggles have been. And we ended up like talking about, all kinds of really crazy, mind blowing stuff. And
Yeah.
and then
that's why it's like, you can think of them, everyone can think of them as red flags, but what I saw was like, okay, well, just like her counselor said, everything else was, you're trying to find these people who are and doing all the, oh, don't do the red flags, or, watch out for these things. And I'm just, it was so different, because I'm like, wait, this is exactly what I want. I mean, I want somebody who can just, be comfortable talking about things in their life, things that are bugging them maybe. And even on a first date, just real things had come up, and like, let's get into them and hear about what you think about this, or, how this makes you feel. And because we had a lot of fun mixed in with a lot of the deep conversations, and it was just.
And I think the biggest thing was I wasn't asking him to fix anything. I wasn't asking him to make anything better. I wasn't asking him to like come in and be this like hero in my life. I wasn't asking him to be my boyfriend. I wasn't even asking him to be my friend. I was just like, I have to be honest with you. Like, this is like what's going on. And like, I'm not like gonna like hide this, because like I do, I have had a good time with you. And like, I think, in all like honesty, like I thought, I was like, he's probably never going to see me again, but like, or want to, but I was like, I also want him to know, like, he is not responsible for any of this. Like, any weird reaction that he saw, like, this is stuff that I'm dealing with. And like, this is not on him, because like, was so kind. And I didn't want him to like ever go back and think that like he caused, like, oh, was it me that caused her to be weird? Or like, was it this? I didn't want him to be having to like deal with that. And so it was like out of compassion for that. And then I remember, so, we ended up talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd love to see him again. And I think I said, oh, it'd be great to see you again sometime, but just kind of like left it like that. I mean, he didn't really try to kiss me. I think we kind of just like hugged and kind of like that quick,
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
Just
And then
pretty much just like let us know we both,
yeah.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah.
And then he was like, let me know when you get home. And I was like, okay. And like, I think I like texted him. I was like pulling onto my street or whatever. And he was like, oh, I'm home. Like, I had a really great time. And I think I just said ditto, because I'm like, I don't want, because I thought, there's no way, like, after this, like, I'm ever, seeing him. And then like the next morning, he was like texting me, and I like waited till like 6 p.m. And not like
Wow.
intentionally, but it was like one of those like, oh, I don't want to text back right away, because I was excited, but I also was like, nope, I'm being casual. Everything's casual. And then the day got away from me. Like, the kids came back and we were doing stuff, and all that. And then I like even just said, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I meant to, I thought about texting this morning, and then it seemed too soon. I'm like, and then the day got away from me, and
what she understands later, that my text, right away in the morning, was because I knew my day was going to get away from me. I had a busy day, and then I had,
So
bowling.
it wasn't freaking you out that she didn't respond right away?
No, because I'm like, I just want to send this out to her just so she knows. So in her mind, she knows that I had a great time. And as long as she knows that, because I know she's going to see it, I'm like, I'm just going to leave it out there whenever she wants to get back to me, because I know that, not thinking that, she would worry about that, but I wanted to put it out there, and just, like I said, I wasn't even looking for a response. I didn't even end it with the way, like, to respond. It was just letting her know. Just wanted to let you know, the great time. I thought this was, awesome, and just, hope you have an amazing day. And I just needed to tell you that, so. Yeah.
And then when we had like left our first date, I said, oh, I think it'd be great to see you again. I'm like, I know I'm busy this weekend. He's like, oh, I'm busy this weekend too. Like, I've got stuff. And I'm like, hopefully like we'll connect in the next couple of days, and maybe like find out another time that works for us. So, he just said something, that day. I think like maybe the next day, like he said something or whatever. It was like something like he brought, oh, Damar Hamlin was doing good. And you're like, yeah. Oh yeah. Like, he sent me the article, and he's like, hey, hopefully like this brings you, some relief. Like, I know that this has probably been very stressful and brought up a lot of stuff. And he's like, hopefully like this good news will like, make it a little easier. And I like thought that was like really sweet. And then, I was just like, yeah, thank you like so much for sending this. Like, it was great to see this, But I didn't pressure him. I'm like, hey, I wasn't going to be like, and what about that date, or whatever. And then the next thing I know, he texted me, maybe like, I think it was like the next day, and he was like, hey, shocker, my weekend is like, oh, wide open, like just open right up. And he was just like, if you're, he's like, I know you said you're still busy, but if you find that you're free at any point, I'd love to like take you out again. And I was like, oh, my weekend's now opened up. And meanwhile, I'm canceling every date that I had planned for the weekend. And he told the girl that he was seeing casually, like
the other one we were, because it was just on the weekends, hadn't even gone to really to each other's places at all, and so it was going to be the weekend she was going to like come over. We were, just it'd been a couple months. I'm like, okay, I'll make you dinner, come over, and we agreed to that. So it, was kind of could have been an important weekend in that relationship or anything, but like I always tell her, I was like, I met you, and I was like, even if you didn't want to talk to me again, I still would have canceled that because now I know what I want, so. Yeah.
So he told her something came up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to hang out this weekend. So,
and she couldn't talk, and I didn't want to like just text it to her. I felt that I wanted to talk to her, and she couldn't talk, and I'm like, all right, well, I can't even think about that right now because whenever she can call me or available to talk, she was always.
So I, said, oh, that'd be great or whatever. She said, well, I'll call you, tomorrow to like, set something up. And he called, and I like said, oh, I'm sorry, like I can't take your call. Like I'm out to dinner with my kids. Like, and I'm like, I might get back to you tonight, and I might not. Like, but I'll get back to you, within the next, 24 hours or whatever. And he was like, I really appreciated that because like
so professional.
Well, and even, and it wasn't like, I don't know that it came off as that professional, but I was like, I will get back to you within like the next day or whatever. Like, it won't be, you're like, I'm not going to leave you hanging. But I think
She's a way better writer than me.
You appreciated that because.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's great. I was like, I didn't even need an explanation, but you were like, but for you to actually do that actually meant a lot too, to actually say, this is what I'm doing. It means that, it was that next step too for like kind of where we were going, and everything that she would do that just to let me know that, like it felt good that she cared to do that, which, yeah, it felt nice.
So then, so then I called and we made a plan and we saw each other like that Friday, and that was like the really like the true like first date. That was when I was just like, oh my gosh, I know I really like him and everything else. And then I think like we both went like home separately and everything. And then I think I was like, I don't know if like what I'm doing tomorrow, like, I've got some things to do, like we'll just see. And he said he's just sitting at home like waiting, like hoping I'm gonna call. And I finally called and I said, okay, like if you want to come and meet me, I'm going to be here. Like, I'm not going out of my way. Like, I'm going to be here. Like, maybe some of my friends might be at this place. Like you can come out here, and if they're, just be prepared. Like if they're here, like you might meet some of them, or whatever. But because I didn't really have a lot of time even for my friends at that point. So I just kind of figured, what, like we'll just speed this like right along, And he comes up there and knows half of my friends because we all ran in the same circles. We were like a Venn diagram that never crossed. So he knew like half of them and then made quick friends with the other ones. And I think, then he ended up coming to my house that night because I was like, I don't want you to like drive home. It was so late because we had gone over to my friends till late. And he was like, oh, where's the guest room? Like, where can I stay or whatever? He's very, always
what a gentleman.
very like sweet. And then I don't think he ever left.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, when the kids would come, you would leave.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Look, even though things were, and I knew I was gonna. In my mind, I'm like,
he said he was telling my friends were telling me he was telling them that night I'm gonna marry her.
I was like,
that Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
but,
I'm gonna cry.
And then he did.
Yeah, and then you did.
And then I know you're gonna cry. And I like just knew like there was something really like special too, because like all my friends were like, my gosh, like this guy's great. Like if you like stop dating him, like we might not be friends with you anymore.
Right?
Like we might be friends with Dan. And no, I mean like I guess he had even told like who went on to be his best man and my matron of honor that I'm going to marry her. And he said, I'm going to propose to her before the end of the year. And this was, in January. So it's crazy,
And I had
Right.
obviously it was a while before I met the kids and everything, and
because I was real
so that
careful about that.
right, and so that was like, even though I knew I loved her and everything, and then that was always like, oh man, what if the kids
And then
hate
you
me?
wouldn't tell me you love me because you're afraid to like freak me out. So you'd be
Yeah,
like, I really, really, really like you, even though he's telling everybody else that he's gonna marry me, they think we don't talk or something. Um, but so I finally just went to him and I said, I think I'm like falling for you, like to like let him off the hook
I was
from.
like, oh my gosh, thank God, like I love you, like I do, I don't even feel weird saying it after that little bit of time, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
then and then he, we've and like not to say we're perfect. We've had a lot. I mean, one of our like big disagreements was how he was going to meet the kids and when was the right time because I said, I was kind of like, hey, I think this needs to happen. And I'm like, I couldn't even believe I was saying this. Like, I wouldn't say their names, ages, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, my former husband's very sick. I think this needs to happen sooner rather than later because I think that like you need to be like kind of knowing, before like this gets really bad. And so he was reluctant. And then I think like he kind of understood and like thank God for that because pretty much like I think 2 months after you met them, like he passed. But he got to know my former husband, their dad. He got to build like a relationship with them. By that time that he was, it was very clear he was going to pass. Like you were moving in, and like you've been there for us, really all, through that like experience. And not to say we haven't had a lot of ups and downs because that was a very, 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 very trying time.
Of course.
That nobody could have imagined. And then we went through. I mean, we ended up buying a house because we were in this horrible rental with black mold and all of this stuff. And I didn't want to move my kids out of their school. And so we went through the stress of, having their dad pass away, getting engaged. We bought a house, planned a wedding. And then your dad got really sick and passed away right before our wedding. So,
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that too.
so it's been a lot. And as we tell people, it's not to say that we don't have any fights and there weren't times that like I was just like, I would even tell them, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like especially like after that had happened, with, their dad, I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready to be married again, or I don't know if I'm really ready for a relationship. Like, or I don't know. Like I would say that. Because like the truth was like everything was just so chaotic. Like it's hard to know like when you're in that kind of a state because and I think like with all the trauma of dating and everything that goes on, like it plays with you a little bit and the
Oh,
traumas of
totally.
divorce and the traumas of
Yeah.
especially like I always say like whether you're co-parenting because I've done that or whether you don't have them anymore like because I was like oh I wish they weren't around like that's trauma too. And I think
Right.
like that can really mess with you because it brings up like, as I had to deal with that, it brought up a lot of what went wrong in my marriage and like what led me
Mhm.
to that and was that going to happen again in this situation. And now I've got more people involved and I have, it felt like way more on the line. Certainly than when I was 23 and I didn't know what I was getting into. And I went through like a lot of scary times and I think like the biggest thing was that we just always allowed each other to have like whatever feelings we wanted and to like go through our process. But we just said, the last thing we're going to do is like end the relationship. Like we're going to, if it takes space, if it takes like time weekend away, or if I had to just go with the kids somewhere, or if he needed to get away and go to like his, on a camping trip or something, to like reset the mind or, we both see our own, therapists and whatever, like we were gonna like it was like how rare is it that you find this person and I'm gonna work through my stuff and try to like preserve the relationship and if I come to the conclusion like that that's still what needs to happen then so be it but let's try this with this in mind and I think that's been the best for us right because we've had
And
times where we're
Awesome.
pretty
I'll
distant
say
right?
that when you started posting pictures together, because they hard launched, just saying. You started posting pictures of him. I have never seen you smile like that. Like the way you lit up, and I was like, "Oh my god, look look at Rachel. She's really, like, truly happy in these pictures. And it was so sweet. Oh, so
I
cute.
know. I was like the happiest. And the
And then
saddest. You know, like
it's
at the
Yeah.
the
same time.
cutest.
That's what was so funny. I was the happiest and the saddest, like in a way.
Yeah.
And that's why that was something I, put in my vows that, I vow to help you keep that, amazing
Oh
smile on
God.
your face for the
Your
rest
wedding
of
was ridiculous. Like there was not you had they had tissues on every you were sick. You had tissues on every chair and like we all needed them. Everybody was crying. Like the photographer assistant behind me was like everyone was teary-eyed. It was like the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to. It was so sweet. So like I don't know. You guys are obviously you guys are in love. And even Dan, even meeting you just before the wedding when me and my son came over, like just the way you talk about Rachel and like I'm just like this is it. Like this is amazing. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks.
I was
And,
like, that's all I needed to know. Like, I approve. Not that my approval
and
matters, but like, I'm
well,
like, okay, I sign off.
I've noticed that with so many people too, who she's close to or anything, like even you coming over, it just, even though I never met you, it just, you have this, that same thing of just like, oh, I just, everybody feels comfortable because we're all just here, just being genuinely kind. And, it was awesome, to meet you, your son and everything. Who he was amazing, by the way,
Oh.
helping out
Oh,
with everything.
Yeah.
look at
Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, really, really
But yeah,
just,
like to
that.
brag on Dan a little
just,
bit. I mean, I think like that's the thing. It's like he was always authentic and he let me be authentic. And even if my authentic feelings were, you know, I like don't know if I can do this right now and or whatever, it was or like or if even if it's him authentically coming to me and saying, you know what, like I don't like I remember him saying like with the kids when he moved in, he's like, I know that like all this is going on, but I just think and he's like, and I'm not going to tell you like what to do. And obviously you're a parent, I'm not, but he's like, I just need like you to like maybe give me like the space to do this and like not have, so much structured or whatever, which he's like, I really respected. Like, that's so hard to come to somebody. Like, it's like, I've had these kids for a long time. He's not a parent. And yet he was still like telling me what he needed. And, and it was a real conscious effort not to be mad and not to be resentful and be like, well, you can't tell me what to do. Like you're just entering the scene here. Um,
and she has, she's done an amazing job. She's an amazing mom, and
Oh yeah, I
kids
agree.
are amazing, and obviously fell in love with them too, and they're, they're the kids that I told her all the time I needed, didn't know I needed that part of my life, to be a father, or bonus dad.
It's so cute.
Father's Day, it's a bonus dad shirt with the
Yeah,
way we met and everything.
I know. You're wearing the bonus.
on their sleeve.
Well, I didn't want to give away their names. So.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. But their names are on
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
their names are on the sleeve. They put both their names on here, and
I love that.
but yeah. So that was part of the thing. It was like I was like I definitely not saying I know more than you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like
Right.
sometimes you need to make a few mistakes or something and kind of learn from those instead of just hearing like this is what we're gonna do and this is it's
And
just
then
like
he made those mistakes when,
and then
when you never told him no.
yeah and then yeah
And then he said he had to tell him no, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, now I know what a temper tantrum is." I mean, they're a little older, so it's like going to their room and slamming their door.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
but I think that's like the biggest thing. It's like I don't ever, and this is what I like tried to mention at the wedding too. It's like I don't want anybody to think we don't ever fight. I don't ever want like people think we haven't slammed a door. I don't ever want people think we haven't been on like the verge of like ending things like at some really low points because like you can't go through like everything we've been through and like never had those thoughts like come to
Oh yeah.
fruition or anything like that. But the one thing that like I think has kept at least me is like I just think that, for all of like the frustrations that I've had, and trust me, like after like, living with somebody again, I was like, oh boy, did I like this part of being single or like, did I like this part of living alone or whatever. But like for all the frustrations that come with it, like I just looked at it as, you know what, at the end of the day, if somebody like leaves like their dirty socks on the floor or like does this or does that or all the things that I do that probably like drive them nuts, like leave cleaning products out or something, But that's not like what, those are the things that can break a relationship, but that's really like not what matters. Like, and everybody's gonna have like things that drive you nuts, but like at the end of the day, like he's, so compassionate and so like loving. And I think it's so rare to like find somebody that are attracted to and vibe with and like have the same outlook on life and can disagree, and then like find a way to come together. Like there's been times that I'm like, I'm not moving off this, and he's like, I'm not moving off this, and we have to figure out like how we're gonna make that work, um and without compromising ourselves. Like that's the biggest thing. Like we compromise but without compromising ourselves. But I think the reason why that it's been successful is because we allow ourselves to be each other.
Happy ending.
Mhm.
I know.
Oh, look, he speaks.
Yeah.
Well, that's our fault. We haven't.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
no.
we kind of got into our and then just like kind
I
of.
love it. This is so good.
I don't think we've
I love your
touched
story.
on. Well, thank you.
I don't think we've ever really told
We
this
haven't
story.
we've told it in parts, like different things, but it was like, oh my gosh, we're just like rolling with this story. Just got caught up in it, I guess.
No,
And,
I love your story. You guys are one of my favorite couples. I'm so like, I feel so honored to have been at your wedding because it was like the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to, and so like heartfelt. And did I tell you what he did during the wedding? He told her daughters that he was adopting them,
Oh my god.
and all of us
Oh.
tears, just crying. The
Down
girls
on
are
one
crying.
knee, right? Saying
yeah,
vows to
I had
them.
vows for them too. Got down with me and did vows, for them and everything. And
I was
it was
dead.
And one of the most important things that I think he said during that was, that, he said, oh, you'll listen and be there for you. And like, that's really important. But one of the things that he said is like, I'm going to honor like your mother and also like the relationship and the memories that you had with your father. And
Yeah.
I think like, always like giving them the space to like, as he said to me, it's very hard for him to sit back sometimes and hear that. Like it is a very, very difficult thing to hear about like somebody's former spouse, or like somebody that like, that like their other, their dad, and he's the bonus dad. But like by, giving them the space to do that, like their relationship, I think, has deepened like so much and they've grown. And I think like, like he said, like modeling a good relationship in hopes that one day they will find that too. And I think especially raising daughters, like it's so
Yes.
important, to like show that and like be kind of like to let them know like, yeah, we have flaws, but and we had marriages that didn't work because, and
Hmm.
as I told my therapist, I said, here's all the, as I was getting divorced, I said it would be so easy for me to come in and tell you everything that was wrong with him, but what I want to do is figure out what was wrong with me so that this never happens again. And I think like that's the thing, like is, you can come like from the, we always say we're appreciative of the lows. I think you say it better than me, like what you just said, if you want to tell them what you say
I
about the
think
lows.
that's yeah, I learned the most about myself through the lows, like the lows of the stages of being depressed and everything. And now I always say like I welcome those now, because I'm like, okay, well, what is this gonna teach me? Let me get into this. Let me be mad or cry or anything, like, all right, because I
That's where
know
the growth comes from.
I have the tools to get out of it. But so let me get as deep into that as I can now, because I'm not afraid to go all the way into it. So
You guys might be the healthiest people I know.
well, it's every day, like I said, that's what actually sometimes being there that's what can cause some of the fights or disagreements or anything. But
We always say
it's
that.
usually
I think we like fight more not in a way that people would like think about fighting, like not in a, we don't talk to each other or silent treatment, or like we don't say mean things or whatever. But like I think we probably actually disagree more than I ever did like in my first marriage, and that's because I think we know each other so well, and we've probably had like too much
we
therapy, like not that you could ever have too much, but like you just
because you
we
don't
just
keep it in. You're like,
right,
I
yeah,
tell her, I'm
yeah,
like, you're always gonna know if something
yeah,
bothers me, but I'm not gonna like be
Yeah.
mad about it. I'm
yeah,
gonna bring it up and obviously if we might have an argument about
yeah.
it, but it's all gonna come together. But if we're
You
not
just
just saying that all
communicate.
the time, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's constant
yeah,
communication.
Yeah. That's amazing. You guys are such a good, like, what an amazing example of how this can work. Because, like, trust me, it's like, is this ever gonna, like, is this gonna work out? Is something like, it gets so, like, you meet all these people. I had a not great date this weekend, and it's kind of like like what's going on
Oh,
here?
trust me, I remember sitting there, like, saying crying and being like, why, like, I remember just saying, like, "Okay, like, what I'm going through, like, God, like, why isn't this working out?" And really, like, what it was is, like, I don't think yeah, it wasn't working out, like, for me because, like, I was waiting for him, but also, like, I just had to be in a place where I was
Yeah,
ready
would
for
you
that,
too?
and so did he. And, like, we always said we knew each other 20 years ago. We didn't really piece it together until we started dating. And people say, like, "Didn't you wish you met each other 20 years ago?" And I was like, "No, because we would not have worked out. Like, even if we'd have
Would have
gotten
been in the same
together,
place.
we would have not worked out, and it would have, ended the way that our first marriages did
Mhm.
because we were not
Mhm.
what we are today. So it took
Oh,
everything
yeah.
to get through this. But I
Yeah.
think the other part of it too is like not, like, and I want everybody to know this, like there have been times that we have been just friends, because that's like all we could manage, like even though we were in a relationship and planning a wedding and doing
Oh,
all these things because, we really like were having, rough times. And there was times that we were like maybe just like boyfriend, girlfriend, or fiancés, and there was like no friendship there like for a little while. Or we were just
it's
parents,
Mhm.
or whatever. But like I said, we always stayed together.
stayed that.
Yeah.
Always remember that. If that core is there, like all that
Yeah.
other stuff can happen as long as you're still believing that core, as far away as it seems at the time. Like it could be out of sight as long as it looks like a speck there. Like because you're gonna. That's what to realize that that's the love. Like that you're doing all this for that, and like yeah.
I think it was like at a spec right before
Oh,
we
we've had
moved,
we've
right?
had
Like
specs.
that
Yeah.
that was a big spec. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
That was amazing. That's awesome.
It's
It
thank
gives
a
you. And
everyone hope,
yeah.
right?
It
well,
really does.
I appreciate it, and like
yeah,
I said again, thank you for
yeah,
being patient there. I didn't
yeah.
even realize that,
No, that was
saying
great.
everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think
No.
it's
Yeah.
great. This I really got to watch some of your podcasts, especially I want to watch one with Amber too. Like that's
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
try to
That's a
watch
good one.
that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make him do
that's R-rated.
yeah, I'm gonna make him do that all with me. But yeah, no, I mean, thank you so much for like the time, and we really appreciate it. And like, sorry to take up so much of it, but I think like
No.
the biggest thing I see with both of you is like you're genuine and you're authentic, and like that's
Mhm.
all that matters. Like for Christina, especially since I know you so well, you're one of like the kindest, most genuine, authentic people I've ever known. Like
Oh,
obviously,
thank
like
you.
we were not never like super close like growing up, or like there's been times we didn't talk for years and years and years, but we always found a way back to each other. And then there's been times that
Mhm.
we've been distant again. But it's just because like I know who you are. Hopefully you know who I am. And like we always like find our way to being friends, like no matter what. And that's the thing. Like as long as you're yourself and you're authentic like to yourself, you will, I can't promise you'll never go through anything hard. Like I still do, but it's like you will then find the right people, even if it's not just in a dating situation, you'll find the right people in your life. And that's like how it started for me too, is being authentic with myself, finding the right friends,
Mhm.
even and starting there and him too. And then, finding, my person.
Yep. Date yourself, and then that's how
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's great. And I know, like, we're obviously still friends, and we had talked about double dating. We can still do that. So
yeah, we
I
should.
we'll figure
actually,
out a
yeah,
time.
because I'd like to talk to. Obviously we've talked a bunch, but still,
Oh, yeah. This guy talks. So,
it doesn't feel like we've talked enough. And yeah, I'd love to, talk
Yeah.
to you guys.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
Hey, there's a new Cooper's Hawk.
Oh yeah, there is.
oh, the one in Montgomery. Have you
Yeah.
been?
Uh-uh.
Terrible
Oh,
parking lot.
I went with Jack and Chris, and it's beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
friends with the manager now because, of course, I am. Um,
Yeah,
but
I want to
will you
go.
drive all the way to Montgomery?
I used to drive out there. I had friends out there.
You still
They
do
used to
have friends out there.
they used to throw epic Halloween parties.
Yeah.
So
With
I-
So
Veronica.
that means yes, you will. So yeah, we'll plan something. I'll text
Let's
you.
do it. Yeah,
We'll
let's. Yeah, Cooper's Hawk or even the other one. I don't know.
Yeah, we ain't
whatever's.
going to like Naperville if
Yeah,
it's easier, or St.
either one.
Charles.
yeah.
We're,
Yeah.
we're near them all, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much, guys.
All
thank
right.
you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah,
That
Love you
was
guys.
Thank you. That's awesome. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was actually really fun for us, so
Yeah.
we appreciate it
It
because
was like
great.
therapy for me just to listen to
Yeah.
you guys. So this is wonderful. So thank you again. And Rachel, I'll text you.
Sounds good.
There we go.
All
All right.
right.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
Yeah,
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
congrats.
Nice to meet
Bye.
you. Good, always good seeing
You
you.
too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. That was really good. Wow. I'm I'm still blown away from that interview with Rachel and Dan. That was a lot. Like I didn't say much because I was just listening to that story and kind of like I personally think like I was sitting there and I felt like I was working for like a movie studio and this group came and pitched a movie idea to me. 'Cause I feel like that's what they just did. I mean, that's a rom-com.
It
I
is.
mean, that's a rom-com, She's got an ex-husband who's dying. She's got kids and she's not really looking for anything. And he's kind of like sick of the dating scene. And it's just like, yeah,
Insight because me and Rachel are very similar in how we approach dating initially. She dove headfirst the first few times too. And so the insight she had on how she viewed it after going through all that stuff is just like very impactful for me because I'm like, whoa. And their whole thing, this is what like blew, like, that mind blow emoji? That was me for like a good chunk of this, is when they were talking about how Dan said, you shouldn't believe anything I'm saying right now in the first few dates. And that is the most truthful thing because, like, honestly, I think that has something to do with us because I feel like
so on my next first date, I'm just gonna tell the girl, I'm lying to you. Don't listen.
I, d-
Don't
I
believe
don't think
anything.
it's that you're lying to them. I
Yeah,
think it's that it's so hard not to be full of shit in that
right.
first
Because
meeting
you're putting
because,
that you're trying to put your best foot
right.
forward.
So you're not being your true self. And I feel like I was my true self with us, but I was trying so hard to make something happen that I wasn't as me as I could be. So it was really me, like, me, but I feel like I had that like kind of a guard where I was just like, I have to be perfect all the time. Like, I'm trying to make you fall in love with me. And I feel like now that that's down, I feel like you're like, wait, you're cool. I want to hang out with you all the time. Now we're hanging out all the time. So I think that whole like it's not that someone's being ingenuine or you shouldn't trust someone or what they say, but when you first meet someone, they are putting their best foot forward. And that's not necessarily a representation of who they really are. So I think don't believe what I'm about to tell you is a great that's so insightful. Like it sounds misleading.
But
It
they went
sounds
through. I mean, there was so much on the table for them to battle
yes,
through. Like that's to me the part that really stood out. Like you know, they just like they had a lot to deal with,
they did.
and
It's a
at
lot.
the end of the day, they both like they had them. They had foresight to be like, this is gonna work. You always hear about someone like when he meets someone like, oh yeah, I'm gonna marry her,
Mhm.
but you know, and obviously it worked.
It did. And they're like this in person too. Like they're just so in love with each other and it's like that's what I want. Like I want someone who loves me the way Dan loves Rachel. That is what I want. And like going to their wedding and seeing how much he loves their kids and like, he had he adopted them. I can't even tell you like I'm pretty good at keeping my shit together. Just tears pouring down my face and it wasn't just me, it was me and everyone else in the room just crying because it was just such a beautiful moment. And the whole wedding was just so like it's a relatively big wedding, but it felt so intimate because they're so true to who they were and they just love each other so much and it was just a beautiful beautiful thing. I'm so glad I got to be there for it. um
Sorry, I missed it.
yeah, it was really like it was a very like touching thing to be a part of. So yeah, I don't
But the
know, I
story, I
love
mean,
their
the
love.
story itself was just like, it started off really, they didn't really like. I mean, it was slow in the beginning,
Hmm.
and she had a lot of stuff going on, and going back and forth, but they both like were like, hey, we're gonna give it a shot, and
And once they did, just seeing how happy it made her. I was like, I just remember seeing that first post she posted of them and how happy she was. I was like, oh my God, look at Rachel. Like the smile she had on her face, I had never seen before.
So a hard launch didn't freak out a guy.
No,
That's
it
interesting.
didn't. No, he was all in.
I'll keep
So
that in
he
the
was
record.
screaming from the rooftop sky. Like he was in. So and they moved relatively quickly. Like I feel like they dated to being engaged like pretty fast. And I don't know. I love their love story. And I didn't know Dan at all until I met him like I think it was like a week before the wedding. And just meeting him instantly, I'm like, I love this guy for Rachel. Like he's exactly what she needed. And she found him on an app of all places. So like,
And Bumble too. Like
yeah,
Bumble's usually, yeah. So what's funny is they were talking about, and everyone talks about like, to me, like I feel like on Hinge I meet the most normal people. On all the other apps, I just feel like it's just too, it's like it's too much. But obviously,
Mhm.
I think they all suck in their right mind. They're just, you just got to take it for what it is. But
Yeah.
the whole thing with like eHarmony, the whole, like when he was talking about even on eHarmony, like it's expensive. So
Is it?
you would think like, okay, these type of, you're putting quite a bit of money into this. You're
Mhm.
gonna take it seriously, or there's gonna be like real people, and it's still not.
I'll say because I'm on Match. I think it expires though, like tomorrow, because I only did a week. But I think I've met the most serious people, which is funny because I met you there. And you're like, I don't know what I want, but I've met the most serious people there. I've met, although that's where I met serial killer too. So, and he's full of shit. But I've had the most luck on Facebook dating and Match. I've had the most like obviously because I met you on Match.
I have a funny story because I did try eHarmony a couple years ago,
Did you?
and I met this one, and like the connection was good, but it was like other things that were really bad. So first of all, I, I take this as a grain of salt. I'm not bashing vegans, but it's just not my style because I like different foods and I like to try different stuff. So she was a vegan, and then she was a Packer fan. So like
Oh.
for like an hour, we had a conversation. She was trying to explain to me that Aaron Rodgers was 10 times the quarterback that Tom Brady was, and I'm like,
Oh no.
this bitch is crazy. First of all. And so,
You
but
love Tom
we
Brady
I
so
mean,
much.
we would argue about it, and then she was felt like she was a virgin, she had never had sex,
Oh.
and so I'm just kind of thinking like, how's that gonna work? And then just more and more, and then but we talked, we had a good connection, so we were gonna meet up, right? And so I remember she texted me like at work, like early, like maybe like 1 o'clock, and I texted her back, and then I put my phone on my desk, and then some things at work happened. So I kind of like was away from my desk, and like it was like a couple hours, and I reached back out to her and nothing. And I did another message, nothing. So I was like, all right, whatever. Then like when I got home, I had the kids that weekend, and all of a sudden I'm getting just like these like long messages and shit. And she had it. She was like, you're playing me. Like she just freaked the fuck out. And she was like, I don't want to talk. I was like, I'm like, delete, delete, delete. Like I'm done with this. Like just the craziest thing. And I'm just like, I mean, we had a good connection. I didn't think it was gonna work out, but I like still wanted to meet her and see how I would have done. And she just went from like one extreme to the other. So that was my eHarmony. I think I did a there was a trial where I can do like a week, and I'm like, nope, I don't want anything to do with this. And because I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's like, and you think you meet, but it's the same shit.
I'm honestly kind of over all of it right now. I joined apps as a reaction to you being on apps. So like I think am I ready for this? No. Do I even give a fuck? No. So like I think I'm talking to a few people, but it's very like
You have to be in the right state of mind, and
right.
sometimes you just have to like, because our ultimate, like what we want is, I want to jump on an app, I want to meet people, I want to
Right.
start dating and stuff, but it's tougher than it looks. not
It
not
is.
not, not tougher, but it's like it's just hard sometimes to have like a connection with someone. And what I've
Yeah.
noticed is like no one wants to talk, and like that's just like, and if you don't want to talk, like I'm not for it.
I think
So
that's why I'm as popular as I am, but I'm just not interested in anyone that I'm talking to. Like, I just don't, I don't know. I'm just not there right now. So I was going through Facebook dating and I was just trying to find some funny stuff because like people send me some crazy shit. And so I'm like looking for stuff and I'm kind of going through it and I'm like, if I see someone I'm interested, I'll swipe right. But I went through 200 likes. Like I had 200 likes on Facebook that I counted, and I had lost count at
crazy.
a certain point. So I estimated about 200 because I counted 200, but there was more than that. So it was a lot. I don't know where these people came from, but I
Crazyville.
yeah. And so I was like, not a single one was I interested in out of 200. I wasn't interested in one. And so I'm like, is it me? Am I just like, do I not like anyone? So, because there were a few that were like potential, like maybe, no. So I was like looking at it and I was like, no, eh. So yeah, but I get some crazy shit. People are wild.
Yeah,
So
it's a different world.
it is.
No, no pun intended. A different world.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I think we'll save the dating apps because that's gonna do like things to avoid for men to avoid to because all the things that made me want to swipe left. We're gonna save that for the next episode. So I'll
Okay.
do it as a topic. But we have some advice. Oh, Rachel said, "So fun, Rachel." I'll text you back when I'm done with this. Like you can hear me doing this live. Okay, so this is an anonymous question. I need advice or encouragement. Me, 33, and my boyfriend, 38, have been together for 3 months, which is not that long. It feels like it's a long time in that moment. It's not that
For
long.
me, it's a long time, but
Yeah, but like when you look back at us, was it that long? No, right? I don't know. Okay. um,
silence is golden.
silence. Yeah. So we've been together for 3 months, and he has a 5-year-old daughter who I absolutely adore and love. He's the greatest man to me, treats me so well, and loves me so hard, which is a lot for 3 months. Um, he was with his daughter's mom for 10 years, married for 4. I'm struggling big time with him having an ex-wife who is actively in his life. They have been divorced for a year and a half, which is also not that long. I'm constantly thinking about their past relationship, how they were together, comparing myself to her, insecure about the texting, the drop offs. I get extremely triggered when she's brought up in conversations. She got him a Father's Day gift from their daughter, and I was so bothered. Everything regarding her has me spiraling, and I can't seem to shake it. I don't want to end this. I don't want to end. I can't read. Hi. I don't want this to end our relationship. I want to get past this season. I want to marry this man. Wow. 3 months. Let's remember 3
I got
months.
some harsh
Yeah.
advice for her, but
Okay.
so this is me. I've been in previous relationships. They do not like my relationship with my ex-wife
Your
because we're good friends and we
your last
co-parent.
girlfriend is pretty cool though.
Yeah, she was good about it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: you can't compare. Like, so many people are like they have this theory or whatever they have in their head. Get it out, okay? She's his ex-wife, okay? They got divorced for a reason. They're not going to get back together.
Yeah.
Like, I know you hear about it. Like 98% of divorced couples, even if they're they're civil, they're not getting back together. They divorced for a reason. You got to stop comparing yourself to his ex-wife. His ex-wife is his kid's mother. They have a relationship that you can never break up. Like, that's just, it's a bond. I always tell people with my ex-wife, like, I stopped loving her, but I will always love her for being my kid's mom.
As you should.
And that's, you have to separate those two. She's the fact that she's in his life and they're co-parenting, like, that's very important. and that's
Mhm.
going to help their relationship later. But she's got to stop comparing. It has nothing to do with it. She's not going to come back into his life, and he's going to realize, oh, what has he missed? No, no, no. It's a separate entity altogether. So first of all, she's only been dating him 3 months, and she wants to marry him. That scares the shit out of me right there, because that's like already. I mean, that's planning way into the future. But
Yeah.
I would tell this person, like, you can't, like, if you can't do this, you've got to stop. Like, stop doing that. Like, you're not, because she's gonna try to compare herself to his ex, and then it's gonna drive her crazy. And
What would you
anytime
say
any
from a guy's perspective, how is this gonna affect how he feels about her?
he's
Be
not gonna like it. He's gonna be
Yeah,
like, this is it. It's he's gonna see the crazy eyes, and
it's gonna
that's all
drive
it
him
is.
away, right? It's gonna push him the
Right, because like I said, I've had people like, "Well, I don't like your relationship." Like, well, it's not your choice. Like, this
Right.
is our relationship. I'm very civil with my ex
Yeah.
because we're good friends. We co-parent together. Like, the family still get together. Like, this is a part of my life that's over, but we're making it the best we can.
Right.
And if I start dating someone, and first of all, if I start dating someone and she disapproves of it, that's like that. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. All. But she needs to get off this whatever she's on, and just be like, he's into me, but he has a separate life with her, and unfortunately, that's how it's gonna work. As long as she's alive, she's gonna be in his life because they're doing the right thing where they're co-parenting the correct way.
The
Um,
thing is, the thing I think that because she's not a parent herself, um, your kid is always gonna come first.
right.
Your kid's always gonna come before
And
your
everyone's
partner.
like, "Well, what about?" I'm like, "No,
No.
they're always gonna come first. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter."
And so, in extension, his ex-wife is gonna come first too because his relationship not above the relationship, like, I'm not saying his ex-wife's gonna come before his girlfriend, but when it comes to maintaining that relationship, the ex-wife is gonna win every single time because
Right.
he's not gonna cut off his relationship with his ex-wife for some girl he met because she's the
Exactly.
mother of his children.
No, there's obviously circumstances where if, he's doing stuff with his ex-wife that's kind of like scares her and stuff, I can
Right.
understand that cuz I mean, I've seen that happen, but in reality, like, they got divorced for a reason,
Yeah.
and it's not getting they're not getting back.
Getting divorced, especially with kids, is not easy, and
Right.
it's not something that people just do for fun. It takes a long time. It is a heart-wrenching, like, difficult process. You see the very worst in people, so, like, to go through that whole process and I know yours was a lot more civil than most, but just to go through the process of officially ending that is not something that people
And
do
if she's
lightly.
doing that to him, like that, like really like nagging him about her,
Mhm.
then he's not gonna ever want to
Right.
introduce his kids to her. And
It
that's
sounds like
gonna
he
that
already did.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't know, 3 months,
Yeah.
wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I just think that like she's barking up the wrong tree 'cause she's not gonna win. She's not
Right.
gonna win. And
His ex-wife
you
is
can't compare
always gonna be
yeah.
in his life.
Yeah,
He's
and you can't
she's
compare it. Like, they
yeah.
got divorced for a reason. And he's probably I mean, I'm hopefully he's talked to her about it. He's reiterated to her like she means nothing to me. She's now she's the mother of my kids, and that's it. That's an important part, and it's like, but I feel like there's bigger issues. She's just kind of using that as an excuse.
I think she's young, so I
Yeah,
think she has some insecurities and some,
growing up to do.
yeah, just things that happen to you just from becoming a parent yourself is you grow up a little bit faster because you have to. You're now responsible for another human. So, I think that selflessness that parents have because you have no choice. You have to give up parts of yourself for your kids because they don't give you an option. They take it
Right.
from you. So, she doesn't have that. So she doesn't I think she doesn't have that perspective where he's always gonna choose what's best for his daughter above anything else.
Yeah, so she's got to have I mean, they both have to sit down and have a conversation over this
Mhm.
and see if this can work out. And if she still feels the same way, I don't
I
think it's
also wanna
gonna.
say 3 months. So, like, I am
Yeah,
a hopeless Disney brain romantic. 3 months is not a
That's a
lot of
lot.
time, and so I would say take a deep breath and just step back, and for me, from from this example of me and you, when you push too hard and you are just constantly waiting for what's next and just dreaming of, the future and trying to plan everything as quickly as you can, it doesn't work out.
Take a page from
Give
Max, right?
give
Day
yourself
to
2
day.
months and you're gonna be like, "Fuck."
Day to day.
Yeah.
Day to day.
Because, like, I mean, honestly, between you and me, our relationship has improved so much just because I'm not worried about what's next anymore. I think I've chilled out a lot and my anxiety is gone and I'm just like, "Whatever." Like,
Whatever, buddy.
"Whatever, dude."
So this is a
Fist bump.
yeah. This is a lot to unpack today. Like a
It is.
lot of good stuff. Interesting advice by some people, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think it was a the story is just awesome.
It is.
It gives everyone hope, and it also shows that you gotta, relationships are hard work.
I think it was the perfect episode to have after our breakup episode,
Yeah,
which because that was heart-wrenching, like, I had to edit that thing. That thing was hard to listen to over and over, the beginning at least. Like, we get back to where we are, we're joking around, being ourselves, but, like, the beginning is brutal, and so, like, that was a hard episode. Shockingly not shockingly at all, by far our most popular one, but, like which is funny because, like, are we that interesting? Like, we've had really good episodes with
I'm
really good guests.
interesting.
I'm really interesting.
I'm,
I think people are just
the Dos
invested in.
Equis guy. I'm the most interesting man on,
Sure.
right?
But people are invested in what's going on with us, and I've gotten a lot of messages, and I will say, like, that they've been very kind for me, not so much for you, but, like, been
Hey, I'm
very
the
kind.
bad guy. It's okay.
Not the bad guy, they just I think some of the way you phrase things rub some people the wrong way, but it's fine because we've
Eh,
always been super honest with each other, and that's been our thing, and so it wasn't out of disrespect, and I just wanna clear that up for anyone listening. I didn't take any disrespect from anything that you said to me. I know how you feel about me, I know you care about me, you care about my feelings, you're just very, very honest. So, like, I don't take what you said, it doesn't, like saying, like, "I'm way more into you than you are to me" is hard to hear, but, like, that's how you felt.
yeah,
So, like, is that a little bit brutal? Yeah, a little bit, but it's how you felt, and you're being honest with me, and I'd rather you be honest with me than bullshit me and have me wondering what's going on and, like, having questions. So, like, I don't know. So just to put that out there, I know it can sound harsh, but, like, with the way we talk to each other, I don't know that it was to me. Like, I don't know that I took it that way. So, we're cool. But I appreciate the, like, comments where people have said that I handled it very well, and I agree. I think I'm proud of myself and how I handled it 'cause I think, like, Rachel and Dan are talking about how, like, if they had met 20 years ago, how it wouldn't have worked. Had we met 20 years ago, it wouldn't have worked. I was such a different person then. I was so much more, like, combative and, like, just I didn't have the maturity that I have now. I would not have handled that breakup anywhere near the way that I did this time, and we wouldn't have this friendship that we have now. So, like, timing's everything. Like, I think I'm capable of handling it the way I did based on things I've experienced in therapy and just the relationship we already had with each other. I don't know that I would have done this even 10 years ago. I think I would have flown off the handle, you know, before therapy. Therapy does so much. Like, I feel like I just have a healthier view on how to experience things, even things that suck.
yeah. You just gotta go head on with stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta talk about it and just kind of figure stuff out. And I tell people some days are better than others. It's just that's how you got to do it. Yeah, that's all I got.
that's all I got. You haven't said anything about Seinfeld.
I know because it's been made clear to me that I just quote Seinfeld every day. I don't know how we do a Seinfeld quote today. I don't know
I
what
don't know.
Kramer would
You don't have
say or
anything?
hmm?
Wow. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this answers anyone's questions because we are hanging out a lot more. So I got some questions about Saturday because we were like, "Are you on a date?" And I'm like, "No, we're friends."
No, it was friends.
Like, it was a really nice dinner. We had a really good time. Was it a date? No, it's just people having dinner. Like, you know, like I've gone to nice dinner with friends and like it was nice. We had a great time.
I wanted sushi.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about our food thing. So, I'll give you full credit for this. I was really struggling to come up with a name. What is the name of our food review Instagram?
No food pics.
That's amazing.
Because everyone gets criticized for taking pictures of food and stuff, so
It's all video, so it's not pictures.
sometimes this brain works.
I was like, "Wait, that's genius." So it's on Instagram. Um, I'm probably gonna make a TikTok too, but I was struggling with making another one. So, no food pics underscore IG because no food pics is taken. So no food pics underscore IG. Um, and we only have one, but yeah, we're doing cute little food reviews now, and we talked about doing that when we were dating. And I'm like, we're still having a good time hanging out, and let's just keep doing things and hanging out, and that's cool. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy. So
Yeah, I'm much more relaxed and
just
much
keep
less
doing what we need
anxious.
to do. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So with that, uh, yeah, be sure to rate and review us. Follow us on all the social media sites on Instagram, no dpics pod. Everywhere else, no dick pics pod. We are on Facebook as well, and I am posting videos. So if you want to watch, which you'd be surprised how many people watch it. It has a lot of views. The full episode from the breakup is on Facebook. It has a lot of views. I'm honestly shocked at how many people wanted to watch that, but a lot of people like the video format. So I think I'm gonna do that for this one. I'm gonna put this one on video as well. I'm gonna put it on Facebook. I'm trying to do YouTube, but I'm dumb. Apparently, I can't do it. It said the video was too long.
We have the 4th
So
of July coming up, so maybe
yeah,
we split the Dan and Rachel up into 2 parts.
we can do that. That'd be good because we're taking next week off.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's the 4th of July.
America.
Yeah. So I
This
know we just
country was
took the
founded on fireworks, booze, and food.
food. Yeah, so we had meant to do one last week, just couldn't get our shit together to do it. Plus, I think we needed some time to figure out us and where we stood, and just kind of give us the chance to get to where we're at now. So I appreciate everyone's patience. We are gonna make this a two-parter, so you will get two back-to-back episodes, even though we will not be here next week recording. But follow us on all the social media sites, and then also check out no food pics underscore IG on Instagram. Got anything else?
Just deuces.
Deuces. No Casey Kasem, nothing. You
No,
got
I mean, my
nothing?
Seinfeld, I was going to say we could be sponsored by Vandalay Industries, but if people knew Seinfeld, they would know that right away. That's what's popping out. So
Yeah.
it's still going
Okay.
to be the summer of George. So
Did
it's
I
going to be
send
the
you that?
summer of George.
All right. The Jerry to Maya Lane. All right, guys. We will see you next week, except kind of won't. It's gonna be
He
fake,
actually
right?
won't. So we'll see you in
All
2 weeks with another great adventure of No Dick Pics
I'll give
podcast.
you another episode, another update on where we stand, which is probably gonna be exactly the same. All right, guys. Thank you.